All right, I think we'll get started. Hi, everyone. Welcome to day 4 of Phenology Week. Thanks so much for celebrating with us this week if you've been to some of our other webinars. And if this is your first one of the week, welcome. We're so glad to have you. This is a very exciting session because we are talking about the highly anticipated new version of the Nature's Notebook app. So while we're getting started here, feel free to introduce yourself in the chat and um, mention something that you're really excited for with the new app or curious about or concerned about, and we can try to get to some of your questions here. And if we don't get to them in this session, we will add them to our FAQ page for the new app. So I am just going to share before we get started what the rest of this week is going to look like. So we've had some great sessions so far already, and the recordings are linked here. So I encourage you to check out our recordings from Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday sessions. Today we have our Nature's Notebook mobile app session. And then tomorrow I'm really excited because we have a researcher Q&A. So we have 3 researchers who have used Nature's Notebook recently in some of their work to answer some questions. And they're going to be talking about their work and answering your questions about how they use Nature's Notebook data and why Nature's Notebook data is best suited for the questions that they're answering. So I encourage you to check out this page and yeah, and follow along. So with that, I'm going to pass this over to Erin Posthumus to talk about our new Nature's Notebook app.
Thank you. All right, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Let's see. Got some great stuff in the chat where people have been putting in a few things about what they're excited about. It's great to see so much interest. All right. So what I'm going to be doing today is telling you about some key changes. And if you've been on some of our mobile app sessions in the last couple of months, you're probably aware of these already, but I'm going to be providing some additional details. And then we'll talk about some of our new features that are going to be in release 1. And then talk about some of the things we're trying to remove from the app that are problematic right now and cause either confusion or they put unnecessary burden on observers. Then we'll get into some of the support resources that we're developing to help you with this transition to the new app. Talk about the testing timeline. I know that's top of mind for many of you is when am I going to be able to use this app? And then I'll do a demo of the app and then we'll have time for a Q&A. So the main goal with this project, of course, is to make an app that's easier to use, but also more engaging. So if you're familiar with the current app, we like to call it a digital data sheet because it's pretty much just a way to fill out the questions, submit your data, and that's it. So it's also quite complex. If you're familiar with using the Nature's Notebook protocols, you know that some of them have quite a few questions. We ask you about really particular phenophases or life cycle stages like breaking leaf buds. We ask you about intensity, and it can be pretty overwhelming as a new observer. So we're trying to make an app that's easier to kind of get into and transition from a new observer into a more experienced observer. And then also just make it more engaging. So we're trying to include a lot more challenges. We're going to get badges in there. We're going to have ways for you to kind of see your progress, just to keep people interested and wanting to come back and use the app. We also are really intending to try to make it simpler for us to make updates and changes. So I know a lot of you, if you find an issue right now, it takes a long time for us to try to fix it. So I know one example is the keyboard issue on some apps with trying to enter a comment. You do that, and then the keyboard comes up and you can't see what you're typing. Because we have a different app for Android and iPhone, it takes a long time for us to get all the changes made and deploy those apps. So with this new system, in our new app, it's going to be a single app that's going to be there for all platforms, iPhone, Android, and the website. So it's going to be a lot easier for us to do fixes and make changes and updates going forward. And we're really excited that it's just going to be a lot more beautiful as well. So you can see here in some of these screen caps, there's a lot more photos. We're going to have just easier visual cues on there with buttons that are really obvious, and a lot more educational materials as well. So trying to include a lot more details and support resources and things to help you making your observations. So, key changes, and if you've seen these sessions in the last couple of months, as I mentioned, you're already familiar with these, but just in case you haven't, the main new changes are nested phenophases and then levels for the protocols. So, right now, when you answer the questions on one of the Nature's Notebook data sheets, you can fill out yes, no, or not sure for any of the questions on the data sheets for the phenophases and the intensity questions as well, but you can just kind of put yes, no for anything. And really, the way that the protocols were designed, they're intended to be some of the phenophases are nested. So, flowers or flower buds, for example, we consider an overarching phenophase that includes all flowering structures, including open flowers and pollen release. So, you shouldn't be able to say a yes for open flowers without first saying a yes for flowers or flower buds. And so, in the current app, you can actually do that. You can put a yes here and a no here, but that's actually incorrect. So we're going to have this be nested, so you actually won't be able to do that, and that will help us with data quality. It'll also streamline the data sheets as well, so that when you first come up to the data sheet, if you're observing with the full set of phenophases, you can start with the highest level, and then as you answer yes, you're able to answer those, call them child phenophases or the kind of subset of phenophases. And then the levels as well. So we will have three levels in the new app. This will include level one as the most simple phenophases. This is great for new observers or youth. This will include things like leaves, flowers or flower buds, and fruits. For some species, we won't have leaves for things like cactus, and for some of our plants here in the Southwest. For level two, that'll be the full set of phenophases for plants, just the yes and no or unsure questions. And for animals, it'll be most of the phenophases, but not the most complex. And then level three will be all of the phenophases, basically what you're doing now in the current app with the intensity and animal abundance questions. So this is the one on the right here is basically what you're seeing in the current app, but with the nestedness. So we're hoping that this will be a great way for people to kind of ease into Nature's Notebook. I think for local phenology programs, it'll be a nice way for you to offer level one for new observers in trainings. And it'll be easy to transition and move up in levels. So you'll be able to change levels right from the observe screens. We'll show you that in a bit. And it will actually save your preferences for each individual plant and animal species. So if you decide I'm really comfortable with plants, I want to observe my plants at level three, but I'm not super familiar with birds or butterflies, I just want to observe the simplest phenophases for those, you can have that set as preferences. You can also, within plants, decide I'm not as familiar with this species, so I'm going to observe it at level two. Whereas this one, I want to observe at level three. So you'll be able to make those decisions and it'll save your preferences locally in the app. For local phenology programs, it'll be kind of up to you to decide what level you'd like your observers to observe at in the app, and you'll be able to communicate that to them. You could leave it open to the observer to decide, or you could kind of tell your observers that you'd like them to start at level one or whatever you decide to do there. In terms of the data, it doesn't matter in terms of data quality. You know, if you observe at level one or level three, all of the data will be in the database and available for people to use. Basically, for a level one observer, it'll just list just those three phenophases and the rest will be left out. And there'll be a kind of flag in the database that says this observation was made at level one. So we're hoping that overall it'll really help with data quality because the people that feel less comfortable with the full set of phenophases will just be observing at level one. And so those data for level one will be really solid and good quality. So we're really excited about this new feature. Okay, so some of the new features that people have been asking about for a long time include phenophase photos. And right now, a lot of you in programs will use things like phenophase photo guides to try to serve this need. Precise locations of plants with a map to where you can actually see the plant locations. Improvements to managing sites, plants, and animals in the app. You have to do a lot of that on the website right now. And then being able to view past observations, including those submitted by other program members. So we're going to get into each of those. So in terms of adding phenophase photos, we're really excited about this new feature. So this is basically on the current app, if you tap the little I button, you get the phenophase definition. In the new app, you'll actually get the phenophase definition and a photo. So this will be a nice close-up photo of that phenophase, and it'll help you to learn what that looks like for that particular species. We right now have done phenophase photos for the top 100 most observed species, as well as all of the campaign species for Nature's Notebook. And we'll be working on adding more as we go forward. So as we get to them, they'll just be populated within the app. So we're hoping to get to more in the next couple weeks, but for now, we'll at least have those top observed species for you. Eventually, we'll also have trait information. This won't be in the first release, but it's something that we are working on. We have a wonderful student, Oscar Anderson, who's going to be helping us to compile all this information. And this is really to help you get to know these plants a little better and to help with things that impact data quality. So, for example, knowing that for some species, flowers emerge before the leaves, and then for red maple also that male and female flowers may be on separate plants, but not always. And so you just have some more cues in there to kind of know what you're looking for and get to know the plants. We're also going to be working on annotated photos that have to do with helping with intensity. So right now for the flowers or flower buds phenophase, we will tell you if the species has inflorescences, you should count the inflorescences. But we don't tell you whether the species does have inflorescences and what they look like. So our goal is to eventually have photos that show you in this example here, this is an inflorescence for this species, and so you should be counting basically what's in the white circle. And we're hoping to do that for fruits as well as we make some changes to the fruits definitions. So that will be coming later, but just wanted to show you all of the neat stuff that we have coming up for photos and other information about species traits. Another aspect is the map that we'll be adding. So you'll be able to register locations for plants. So right now, when you set up a site, you give your site a location, and you do this by either typing in an address or a coordinate, lat long, or you use a pin on the Google map to move to where the center of your site is. In the new app, you'll actually be able to register locations for each plant on your list. And we'll have a way to help you do this. I know a lot of you that already have plants, you'll have to be adding in your locations for your plants later, but you'll be able to either stand at your plant and say, use my location right on the app, or you'll be able to do this on the computer if you want to, and click and drag, or if you have coordinates for your plants, you can just enter those in as well. The map will have both a satellite view, as you can see in this screen cap here, and also a Google Map view. So if it's easier for you to reference by looking for things like roads or other landmarks, you'll be able to do that. So these screen caps show basically the view of one of your sites here with your list of plants. If you tap on one of these, plant number 1 in your sequence, you can see this is a valley oak. The nickname is oak near entrance. You can then observe it, and then it takes you here, and you can see I now have plant number 1 highlighted, and then you see the observed details for that plant. And this is the same screen, but just with the other type of map. And you can alternate in between those map views pretty easily. We'll also have the ability to see your location eventually. It's not in here because this is a demo version, but eventually you'll see your own location on the map in respect to the plants. So you'll be easily able to navigate to the plants for each of the ones in your list. We'll also have the ability to do more editing in the app. So right now you can add a site and you can add a plant or an animal, but you can't change anything about them after you do that. So you'll be able to do all of that in the app. So you can edit your site, you can add a photo of your site, you can edit each plant on your list or animal. For plants, you'll be able to add a photo by going to this edit button here. So we're really hoping that by having this be the same system both on the mobile app and on your computer, it'll be really easy to go in between both. So if you want to do more of this editing on the computer, you can do that, but you'll also be able to easily do it on your phone if you want to do it while you're, for example, out at your site. I know this is a feature that people are very excited about, and we're really pushing to have this in release one. It's still not in there yet, but it's kind of next on our list in terms of priority. So this is basically when you're looking at a plant that you're observing today, you can say, turn on history, which is here on the left. And then on the screen, you would see in line the last date of your last observation and the time, who collected the observation, and then what was the observation. So was it a no for breaking leaf buds, or was it a yes with the phenophase intensity? And so we're really pushing to have this just this single observation. What was the most recent observation that you made? And then eventually, probably in a later release, we will have more details where you could tap this eye, which brings up that phenophase information with the photo and the definition, but has a toggle where you can go to history and see more details. Maybe the comment, if there was a comment made, who collected the observation. And so this for local phenology programs would be bringing in data, not just that you recorded on your own app, but also that other program members recorded. And I know this is very important for those of you that have observers that alternate observing on the same plants. So we're really hoping that this will help with data quality. So if you're looking at your plant and you're trying to decide with the breaking leaf buds percentage and you want a quick reference as to what someone said last time, you'll be able to just toggle the history on and see that information right here. Another big change is, as I mentioned, we are working towards one system that is the same on both the app and the website. So for those of you that regularly use what's called your observation deck, which is the online system when you log in on the website, this is going to look completely different. So this is actually going to look exactly like the mobile app looks, but just optimized for a larger screen. So instead of seeing this observation deck laid out here, you will see basically the home screen of your app with the ability to do the same stuff that you can do on your app. So all of the editing in terms of sites and plants and animals will all be the same as what you do on the app. So I think this will be a lot simpler for especially those of you that do trainings to try to help observers know how to use the system because it'll match. That means also this enter observation screen that is very problematic. I know a lot of people have had a lot of issues with this, will be going away. We will have the ability to enter observations on the website if you prefer that larger screen, but it will look identical to the mobile app. So instead of having 3 columns for 3 observation dates with all of your species listed in kind of an accordion going down, you'll be looking at a single plant or an animal species in the observation and going next to the next one, as you do on the app currently, and you'll do on the app in the new version. So that is a pretty big change. So just be aware of that. That's coming. We'll also be maintaining the paper data sheets. It'll look slightly different, but you'll still be able to go online and print out your paper data sheets if you prefer to do that. And I know that's important to a lot of people that want to be screenless when you're outside in nature, or if it's just hard to see your phone or you don't have a smartphone, you'll still be able to do that and then enter the data online. We are also removing some of the questions that we feel like are place kind of an undue burden on observers that we don't really need anymore. When we first designed Nature's Notebook, there wasn't as good of satellite imagery as there is now. And so we had a lot of questions about kind of the degree of development, how do you characterize your site, the closest paved road, permanent body of water. But we can get all of that now from satellite data, and data users can get that. So we're going to be removing most of these questions. I think we are keeping this site description because this is a little bit more local. It might be helpful for you to input that information. But it'll just be this. And then for area of the site, because we have the plant locations now, this is less critical. And so you'll only really need to enter the area of your site if you're doing animal observations and you're doing an area search, because that's when that information is most important, is when you're saying, I'm basically surveying the whole area of my site to look for this animal species, and I'm telling you whether or not I see the animal species and then how many of that species. So this will be optional for most people. We're also removing the snow cover questions as well. So those were also added because of the idea that we could combine phenology data with remote sensed imagery, and knowing about whether there was snow would help with kind of doing that ground truthing. Because the imagery is much better now, we don't really need you to answer those questions, so you won't need to do that anymore. There'll still be a comment field though for your site. So for your site visit, so if you want to make a overall comment when you go out to make a visit about the weather or whether there was snow on the ground, you can still do that, but you'll just make a note about that instead of answering these questions. We are also removing another problematic feature that I know has stumped a lot of people, which is this review screen that has a calendar that tells you when your data are complete or incomplete. And I know a lot of people have been confused about this because you'll see an incomplete on the calendar, but you think that you submitted everything and you're just not sure why that is. And right now, really, on the current app, it has to do with whether you answered every single question for every single plant or animal that you registered. And because we are telling you the questions are optional, you can skip whatever you want. It doesn't really make sense for us to tell you that it's incomplete if you just decided to skip something. So we're moving away from this screen, and instead we're going to have a better way for you to review past observations. So we're going to have, this is on a site screen on the current app here, the one in the middle. And this is showing you, it's my list of plants and animals below, but above here I'm looking at my most recent observations. And we're trying to make it very clear here whether your observation has been submitted and then whether it's been synced. Because I know this is another thing that a lot of people worry about, is whether my data have made it into the database. And so on the current app, we have this bar here that says user data are up to date. But now we're going to actually tell you observation by observation what's been submitted, what's been uploaded. And so if you have something that says not submitted, that means you didn't actually get to the end of the observation and say submit it to the database. And so you need to take that action to do that. If it's not synced, that means there was some issue where you tried to submit it and it didn't make it there. And so we'll have an ability to force a sync, and we'll have information for you to say, make sure you're on a good Wi-Fi connection when you do this, because it might be that you just don't have great service. So this will be make it a little bit more transparent, for each of your observations. What is the status, and then what you can do to make sure that the observations make it there. And so this is that screen for the site itself. And then if you go to this all observations, you would see all of the past observations that you've made. And you could sort by the ones that are not synced if you wanted to, or sort by the ones that were not submitted, just easily see what you need to do. We're also making an update to the animal search methods. We will be keeping all 4 of the search methods that we have currently, which are the stationary search or point count, the walking search or transect, the area search, and then incidental. We've determined that we really don't need the area for anything except for your area search. But for walking search, it's actually more useful to have your distance. So we've added a new field for distance here with a unit, and you can change that. And so if you are doing a walking search where you're, for example, walking down a trail, you can tell us that was your method and then the approximate distance. If you're doing an area search, that's where in the site area, you'll want to fill in the area of your site and then the units, so that we know kind of the area that you surveyed during that animal observation. Additional features that will be coming out in later releases include that expanded history. So I mentioned the history that's in line on the observe screen that shows you what you said last time for breaking leaf buds or what someone else said. There'll be more information eventually where you can see and tap that little I button and see the prior observations, even before the one that was just the last one, and then some other details like the comments. So that'll be coming later. We are also working on photo submission. I know that a lot of people are really excited about the ability to submit a photo along with your observation. So that's coming via an integration with iNaturalist, and we're working on that for a future release as well. So when you send in your Nature's Notebook observation, there'll be a little camera icon near the comments where you can say, I actually want to attach a photo to this observation, and you'll be able to do that and actually send the photo to iNat. So it will require having an iNaturalist account along with the Nature's Notebook account, but you'll be able to do it from within the Nature's Notebook app. We're also working on species identification assistance. So for those of you that aren't sure that if the tree you have or the species you have is one that is actually on our list, you'll be able to use via that iNaturalist integration their species identification help, where you could take a photo of the plant that you're not sure about, or the animal potentially, if you can get a good picture, and send that in through our app, get a possible search result, and then if it's on the Nature's Notebook list, you can then easily add it to your site. We're also working on the QR codes that will allow, especially our local phenology programs, the ability to have visitors do data collection without having to have a Nature's Notebook account. So you'll be able to print out a QR code, put it up at a tree or at your site, and then have people scan it and kind of go through via the web app. So without having to download anything or without having to register an account, submit an observation for your plant or for your site. And then we're also working on customizing your plant list sequence so that if you have, for example, those of you that have students that are observing in large classes, they might want to put the plant that they've adopted or they're monitoring at the top of that list so they don't have to search through a long list of plants to find it. And other features as well. So much to come. For some of these things, like the QR code, we will be having some additional conversations with local phenology leaders. So we'll reach out to all of you through newsletters and things like that to see who's interested in being part of those. All right, so I know that was a lot. So we have a lot of changes coming. Obviously, we're working on support materials right now. From previous sessions, like during the LPL virtual conference in January, we asked you about how you would like to receive this support. And the most frequent responses were some sort of a how-to document that includes screen caps and instructions in text. So we are working on those, and we'll be including those on the updated version of this website, which is the NN/new app website that I'm sure that you've seen if you've gotten our newsletters recently. This is where we're putting updates, timeline, and FAQs at the moment. This will be transitioning into a support webpage, which will have lots of different links. So we'll have these how-to documents, which you can print out or just view on your computer. We'll also have short videos. We will also be updating the observer certification course, and I can go into more details about that. I just put an updated table on this new app page that maps out how the new observer certification course is going to map to the old one. So there's actually going to be 3 courses now for each of the levels. And so if you've taken the course before, you are automatically certified to level 3. But if you are going forward and decide, I just want to be a level 1 observer, you only have to take that level 1 course to still become a certified observer. And I'll go into later what each of those levels includes. We'll also have webinars, especially for our local phenology programs to help you navigate some of these changes and make sure that you have what you need to communicate the changes to your observers. And then we may have webinars on specific topics too, like how to add locations for existing plants and things like that. And we'll also have some office hours available too, as we when we first launch, to make sure that we're available for any questions that you have. All right, timeline. I know this is like the thing that everyone's been waiting for. And I have to say, of course, this is subject to change. This is it's a huge project. We basically recreated the app from the ground up. So it's been a lot, and taken a little longer than we thought, but we are making great progress and we feel pretty good about these dates right now. So we are testing daily right now, sometimes twice a day with new versions. We're hoping that by the end of March, which will be less than 2 weeks from now, we'll send an email out to those of you who signed up to be beta testers to test out the app using your own login, but we're sending data to basically our staging database, which is not the real database. So you'll be able to, if you want to put in real data, you can. You can go outside and do this. It'll be on the web app. So this is something that you can use on your phone, but it'll be via a browser like Safari or Chrome or whatever you have on your phone. So you'll be able to do that and test it out and send in data. You don't have to worry about whether it's real or fake data. After that, we will have beta testing with our beta testers, but using the real database. So at that point, we want you to basically do what you would normally do on a site visit, and send in the data as you would, and that will go to the real Nature's Notebook database. Once we feel really good about that, and we've had a few people test it and make sure that everything seems good, the data are coming in correctly, then we will be releasing the app to the stores for download. And that will be later in April. And we will try to keep this new app page updated with this timeline. I know we haven't been updating it too much recently because we've been really in the testing phase, but I anticipate we'll be updating this a lot more frequently going forward over the next few weeks. All right, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and then I'm going to transition to the, the demo.
Hey,
But are
Erin.
there any, I'm sure there's a lot, I saw a lot of stuff coming in the chat. Are there questions?
Yeah, I can summarize some of the main questions. I tried to do my best to answer them in the chat, but they're really great questions, so it might be nice to talk about them a little bit here before we look at the demo.
Mhm.
Um, so I think this one was answered, but there's a lot of questions like, is the app available now? How do I know if I have the new app? So no, the app is not available now, and it's not going to be the type of thing where your app just changes one day and doesn't update. It's going to be a separate app in the App Store. Um, you are not going to be forced to download that app right away or switch to it right away. It's going to be like there's going to be a time period where both of them are available. The old app will start pointing you to the App Store saying, "Hey, we have a new app. Go ahead and download it." So there'll be a transition period. You're not going to get wake up one day and have the new app on your phone. Um, let's see. Some people were asking, will my past data be transferred automatically? Um, so, and yes, the answer is yes. This is just, you can think of this as like, this is the way that you put data in and manage your data, but it's still connected to the same database. So all your sites will be there, your plants and animals, all the data you collected will still be there. And hopefully, for sure, you'll be able to view it in a much nicer format, which is great.
Yeah, to add
And
on to that, I
then,
think one of the most exciting things for me about the new app is it's going to be like multi-directional in terms of the data. So right now, a lot of you know that if you submit data on the app, you can see them on the website because the app is pushing data. But if you enter data on the website, you cannot see them on your phone, which is, I think, a big problem. It's nice to be able to pull both directions. So the new app will be pulling. So yeah, if you are using the old app and then a week later you download the new app, it'll actually pull in your data, any data that you've submitted.
and then Erin, there was a great question about will there be a practice tutorial available? So this is a nice segue into the demo.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm going to be showing our demo, and that is something that we'll share the link with you. I know some of you have seen an earlier version of this. We have updated it now. But yes, if you want to practice with it, I'll describe that it's kind of preloaded with some fake sites. And then eventually we'll have, once you're able to log in, you'll be able to kind of test it out both on the computer and on your phone, but it won't be in practice mode at that point. Once you have the app and it's the real version of it. For the beta testers, we will have, as I mentioned, that period where it's kind of it's fake data. It's not going to the real database, so you'll be able to practice with it at that point. Any other questions?
Those were the main ones that I got in the chat.
Okay.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
This is Georgia.
Hi.
I'm curious. There's a volunteer who has an older smartphone and is
hmm
not able to load the current app on her current older smartphone. Will the new app, how will it take into consideration smartphone model?
Yes, so I'm showing right now that new app page I mentioned. We do have this question here with an answer from our IT team on that. So yes, you will have to, if you want the downloaded app, you have to have version 5.1 or later for Android or 15 or later for iOS for Apple devices. If you have an older version, you can still use the web app. So that means that you don't have a downloaded app on your phone, but you're going in through a browser on your phone. So I think that will work for people with older phones. You can open up Safari or Chrome or whatever you're using as your web browser app, and then log in that way.
And one of the really nice things about having the web version be the same as the app is that it's not a headache for someone to use it, for example, on Chrome or on Safari through their phone. They'll be seeing the same thing that can be optimized for the small screen as you would be seeing in your downloaded app.
Cool. And I guess while we're here, I will just scroll down and show you, for those of you who are wondering about the changes to the Observer Certification course, I tried to map that out here. So if you've taken the course before, you know there's 5 modules, and we put here the new levels for the new course and how those will correspond. The content will be mostly the same, especially for the Module 3 and Module 4. It's just getting kind of broken up and moved into the levels. The main changes will be the how to observe and the mobile app, obviously, because those cover the old system. So if you don't have to retake the course when we roll this out, or if you wanted to just retake this one, you still will maintain your full certification to level 3 if you've already taken the observer certification course. But it might be good to review at least level 1 to see the new stuff related to the new app. Okay. I'm going to start sharing now the demo. Okay, so what we're looking at here is our NN demo, and this is a link that we'll share out with you all, and we can put it in the follow-up email as well, or we can drop it in the chat. But basically, what we're going to look at is a preloaded set of 2 sites for a user, and this is also not connected to the real database. So you can play around with this, you can submit whatever you like, and that will not go into the real database. So feel free to practice as much as you like. So what you'll see when you first open the app is basically going to be a home screen. So that'll be taking the place of this kind of testing start screen. But you'll see you do have this little icon here, and that's going to be really important for navigation eventually in the app. And this will be where you get to the main menu. We're on the home right now, and you can jump to different things in the app that will be useful. But for now, we're going to start testing. So you can already see this looks quite different from the current app. The main difference you'll see visually is this map in the background. And so we have 2 sites here for this user, my front yard and my backyard. Eventually, you'll be able to see your location in respect to your sites on the map. There's also a little icon here where you can change in between satellite and kind of Google Map mode. And so we're looking at our 2 sites here, and we can see a preview on these site cards of the number of plants and animals that you've registered at them. You also see the date that they were created here. Once you've submitted an observation, you'll actually see the last observation that you made, the date for that. So that will allow you to sort by the most recent. If you are someone who is part of a local phenology program and you also have your backyard sites, your individual sites, you can actually use these different filters here to kind of sort in between them and look at, for example, just your local phenology program sites or your personal sites. If we go into one of the sites, now we're looking at a list of the 6 plants and then the 6 animals that we have registered here. This is a screen where you'll be able to eventually this is grayed out right now, but you'll be able to add your plants or animals, edit your site details, and then you can see your past observations. So you'll see in this demo, if you're playing with it later, there's a number of things that are grayed out. That just means that it's something that's not in the demo yet, but it's going to be there eventually. And some of these might change a bit, like we're still deciding about some of these, so subject to change a little bit, but generally we're going to have these features. We'll also be able to change the order here. So if you wanted to reorder, now that we have the kind of 1 through 6 that show up on the map. So if I wanted to just make an observation visit, I would go to Start Observing here. And that takes me to the first plant in my list. So you can see I'm on number 1, which is my Valley Oak. Another thing that you'll see that's quite different is I am in level 1 right now. So I am only seeing the simplest 3 phenophases for this oak. I only see leaves, flowers or flower buds, and fruits. And so if you wanted to just try out Nature's Notebook, if you're a new observer, you're not really familiar with this plant yet, you can start at level 1. We also have the information here within the little eye. If you're used to using the app, you know that this is where you can find the phenophase definitions. But now you'll also see a photo, again, for those top 100 species and the campaign species to start, but then more later, of what that phenophase is, and then the definition here. So as you answer, you'll see there's some little green things that show up to kind of help you see that you've just made an observation. There was a green check, and then if you look down at the bottom here, as I click yes, you'll see a little notification that says this is saved. And so saved means this has not been submitted yet, but this is saving locally as you go. So you can go through and answer these. And you also probably noticed when I said yes, I didn't get any sort of intensity question. It's just the simplest 3 yes, no, not sure questions. I can go to the next plant on my list. This one is one of our funny species that at level 1 only has 1 phenophase. So that one's pretty simple. We've tried to include 6 different species. They probably seem pretty random, but we tried to pick one from different taxonomic groups to kind of show you what the protocols will look like at the different levels. So you may not have these species at your site, but you probably have something that's pretty similar. The valley oak is like most of our deciduous trees. This one's going to be more of those drought deciduous or evergreen species that we have in the Southwest that won't have any leaves questions in level 1. So again, we can look at the eye and see images of what this looks like to get a better idea of what that phenophase is. If I wanted to change levels, I can do that easily here. And let's say that I really know creosote well, so I'm going to go up to level 3. So now, as you can see, I've gotten a lot more phenophases, but it's still not the full list that you're used to seeing. And that's because of that nesting. So as I went through, maybe I say, no, there's no young leaves, but there are flowers or flower buds. Now I get the intensity question. A new feature that we've added here is an I can't see. This was based on a lot of feedback that we got that some people, sometimes it's a tall tree and you just can't see the top, or there's other stuff that's blocking it. So it's not that you're not sure about it, it's that you actually cannot see it. So you can pick that if you want to. And now you have the child phenophase for flowers or flower buds. You can answer that. And you can keep going through and answering. If I go back, you can see that I'm still on level 1 for banyan tree. So even though I've gone up to level 3 for creosote, it's only going to be for creosote that I have it at level 3. I can also pick, maybe I want level 2 for my California poppy. So now I'm seeing, again, the nestedness and the full set of phenophases, but no intensity question. So that's the difference between 2 and 3. So keep going through. We also have the Mark All No feature here. We also have an inline definition. If you want to turn those on so that you can read them right here, you can toggle that on so you can see them. And this is also where that history is going to be. So not in here yet, but I'm really hoping we'll have that in the next couple weeks. You'll be able to see the most recent observation you made for this particular phenophase for this plant. All right, and we can mark all no and then finish plants. Now we get to our animal checklist. So we have 6 animal species registered here. So we can say either yes, I am looking for animals today. Maybe if I'm not, it would just skip the checklist and take me to the final screen for site visit details. You can also decide I'm not going to be observing animals. Don't ask me if I'm going to observe one. I'm going to turn that off. But if you are looking, you'll get some more questions here about how many observers and then which kind of search you're doing. And I mentioned these before, these 4 different search options. So maybe I'm deciding to do a walking search today, and then I can start observing. This is something that is not working right now, but this is a timer that's actually going to enable you to easily track your time spent observing animals, which is an important feature because the more time you spend, usually the more you have potential to see animals. So we're going to have that to just allow you to easily count up your time spent. So here I see a checklist. This is different from the plants because often with animals, you're kind of surveying for an amount of time and you're not going in an order of one animal to the next. So it's nice to be able to see the full list here so you can easily be watching and observing and then say present or not present if you see them. If you want to, you can say like, I'm going to start with no animals present because I'm going to be looking for all of these, and then I'm going to change to present the ones that I do see. So that's kind of a toggle that you can use to kind of quickly do that. So let's say I'm doing my visit, I'm doing my walking transect, and as I go along, I hear an Anna's hummingbird. So I say present. That's going to take me now to the observe screen. So this is similar to the plant observe screen. So then again, I can change levels and see the full list of phenophases if I want to, and that'll be saved for the next time. Then I can say, yes, I actually did see this. I saw 2, and answer the other questions here. Then I can go back to my checklist to keep looking. Maybe after I finish my walk, I haven't seen anything else. So I'm going to leave these all as not present because I looked for them or I listened for them and I didn't see them. And then I finish animals. And then now I'm on my site visit details screen. This is that comments field where you can add details about the weather, or if you want to add something about the snow cover, if you like doing that and you want to keep doing it. This is your time spent. It should be automatically recording this kind of from when you started your observation till now, but you can update this and say, or actually, no, I only actually spent maybe 40 minutes observing today. Time spent in travel is most useful for people that are tracking volunteer effort. And then I have my animal details as well. If I had skipped animals or I'm not observing animals, I wouldn't have to worry about any of these. And then we do want you to try to put in, like, I think it was about zero point 0.3 miles that I covered in my walking transect. And then submit. And this is kind of a stand-in screen. It should take you back to your home screen after this, but you can say maybe later. And now I see that I have an observation here that I've submitted but has not been synced. And you'll see this if you're testing later because we haven't enabled sync at this point. So don't worry about that too much right now for testing. All right, I'm going to stop there. I want to make sure we have time for some more questions. So anything that people want to ask about the demo?
We had some questions about who will be able to, I think specifically in the program context, who's going to be able to edit sites and plants and animals.
Mhm. Yep, so that will be the same as it is now. So only administrators for LPPs will be able to edit sites and plants and animals. The things that will be up to the observer are the levels that you decide to observe at, and potentially the order. I don't know if this will be in the first release, but if someone else wants to see the plants in a different order, they might be able to do that, or maybe like favorite a plant. But we still want to maintain kind of a default LPP order for plants so that that doesn't change. But maybe at the observer level, they can see their own sequence if they want to.
Rita, I saw you have a question. I'm going to click ask to unmute, and then it'll ask you something on your end. There we
Okay,
go.
here we go. Um, I was confused. I do have an old phone. I've been thinking about getting one. I'm not anywhere near, what was it? An iPhone 15. So I'd have to really ramp up. And there was, I think, an explanation of how you could do something you could use it using your Safari. Um, what do you call those?
The browser, yeah, the
Browser,
browser
yeah.
app.
So is using the browser different than just opening up your phone and being able to start? Um,
Yeah, yeah, that's a good question. So just to answer, yeah, it's not the iPhone that you have, it's the iOS. So it's the operating system. So I think right now, I don't actually know which one we're on, but it's different than the version of the device that you have. So we can help you figure out which version you're running. And then as far as yeah, so when you right now, if you use the app, you're basically on your phone opening up an app that you've downloaded from either the Apple Store or the Google Play Store. In the new app, we will be able to not have to download anything if you don't want to, and you can just use, I don't know if you have like Safari, or
Sorry.
whatever you use if you're kind of going onto the internet on your phone, you can do that and go to the Nature's Notebook website, and you'll be able to view the app in your browser and be logged in.
While and logged in on my phone, my old
Yeah, you'll
phone.
be logged in on the website basically. So it's like if you, I don't know, another example of another website like that, but you'd be on the website on the browser app, and you would go in and put in your login details, and it would open up the app, but it would be like in the Safari instead of on the Nature's Notebook app. But it would be exactly that, it would look the same. It would just have at the bottom, it has like the website navigation back arrow, which is a little different because you're in a browser. So yeah, we can go over all this, and we can make some videos about that, and have some screen caps to kind of talk about the difference.
Okay.
Yeah,
And
and
I'm
thanks. Someone said we're in 26 is the iOS that we're in right now. So 15 is the minimum. So we're already like pretty advanced from that. So you probably have something that's more recent than 15
you mean on this web on the
Yeah,
web? Okay.
on your phone. Yeah, the iOS, which is the operating system, we're in 26 now, and the minimum we're going to require is 15.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Well, I'll nab you too sometime on the campus and just
Sounds
show
good.
you and say, show me what. No, I'll be good. Okay.
Yeah. Grace, you have a question?
Yeah, it was it kind of went by really fast at the end of what you were showing us. And Aaron G has already answered my question partially, which is that last screen where you had those questions about your site visit.
hmm
Uh, some of those questions are kind of interesting if you've only done plants. So my question is, are any of those questions going to come up if you've only done plants? Or is that whole question series just about animal observation?
Yeah, that's a good question. So, yeah, if you have only done plants, this is what you'll see. You won't see the questions about like your distance and the search method and the time spent and how many observers, but you will see the time spent observing in total and travel and then the comments.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Mhm. Anything else?
Sorry, you guys have many good questions.
Yeah, I'm
I'm
trying to
reading the
scroll
chat
through as
here.
well.
Um, okay, Beth is asking, will it be possible to toggle on or off the success notification at the end of your observations? That
Yeah,
is, so you
so
aren't told how well you are doing each time.
yeah, so that's this congratulations screen. That's just a stand-in. So yeah, I'm gonna show this again to know what we're talking about. So this thing, yeah, don't worry about this. This is just there because we don't really have the end yet sorted out. So we're not sure if we're gonna have you share. I don't know if that's a thing. So just ignore this. It's just gonna tell you the number, but don't worry about it for now.
Somebody asked, someone said, I'm new. How do we find local projects? And we can send the link to our local phenology program kind of explore page where you can explore a map and see if there's a program near you.
Mhm.
But before you join that program, make sure you get in contact with the program administrators and and understand kind of where their program is. And you need to be in contact with those people before you participate.
Yeah, that's a great point. I just put in the chat this is the page where you can explore programs near you, but as Aaron G said, they're not all open to new observers. So if there's a contact listed, great opportunity to reach out to them. You would pick something like this and look at their profile and see if they actually have a contact. There is a contact for this one, so you could reach out to them. If not, maybe it's an organization that you already kind of know about, and you could look at their website and try to find a contact that way, because not all of them have listed a contact.
Linda
Yeah.
asked a good question about where programs should be set up, asking if it should be a place like a local park or a similar site. It looks like she's a master gardener coordinator. So yeah, local phenology programs can be set up uh, wherever works for you. So they're generally like sites where people observe, where multiple observers are observing at the same site. So it could be a local park, it could be a botanic garden. Um, Hopefully that answers your question. We can link some more information about how to get one of those started. Georgia, do you have a question?
Mhm.
Oops. Yes, I do. Thanks. Um, will you be able to add a logo or a little, I don't know what it's called, but a profile photo?
Yeah.
And will users who are going to your site, so your volunteers, will they be able to see the logo as well?
That's a great question. So, when you are logged in on the app, I showed that little like person symbol in the top right. So you will be able to add your own kind of like profile photo if you want to. But we're also going to have 10 really cute little avatars that you can pick from and maybe more later, but made by our graphic designer, Terry Moody. So we're really excited about that. So you can kind of do that and then for local phenology programs, eventually, you'll be able to see a little bit more about like who submitted that last observation at this site, and it'll show up there as well. Either the profile picture if they've decided to share that with everyone, or just the avatar, or maybe just like an initial or something. We're still figuring that out. As far as a logo, I guess you could probably add a logo to like your site as the site photo if you wanted to show up there. We haven't figured out yet if we'll allow on the profiles for local phonology programs a logo, but we could think about that. There could be a place for an image as well. So yeah, it's good to know that that's of interest. I think that's something we could potentially include. I'm just not sure where it would show. It would be like maybe in your programs list on your homepage, it could have a logo there as well. But yeah, we can keep talking about that. But thanks for that suggestion. I did put in the chat the link to the demo, so we'll send that in the follow-up email as well in case I know it's kind of buried in a long chat. So if anyone wants to look it over and let us know if you have feedback, we're definitely open to that at this point. And we'll have the beta version out too for the beta testers where you can actually log in, but this version's just for kind of testing those demo sites. Yeah, Grace?
I was also curious about that place where you could have a profile photo, or I like the idea of your little cute avatars, but I think that would help when you're looking at who made the observation, because as we've talked about on previous calls, if what shows up is some user ID, then a number, that's not going to be that helpful to most people on the team. They're not going to know each
Mm-hmm.
other's user IDs. But if there's a little photo or an apt avatar, then they'll get to know that and they'll know who that was. So I like that idea.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we've had a lot of conversations about this and like who wants to reveal what? Maybe they don't want people to know their name, and should we have a real name or a username and a display name? So yeah, we're still figuring all that out. But I think at least having the avatar with the user ID to start would be helpful, and then eventually we can think about other like allowing display names and things like that to help with that for people that want to put those in. Any last
Any other?
questions? Yeah.
Let's see.
Yeah, a little trepidation, but excitement. That's how I'm feeling too.
Yes, I think that's a nice point, Peggy, is like it is overwhelming to think about all of these new changes, especially when you're used to things working a certain way. Um, and in some ways, you figured out all the different, ways to use our current platform and all those kind of loopholes you have to go through sometimes to get to certain places. And so we hope that although this looks overwhelming at first and there are a lot of new features, hopefully it's a lot more intuitive. And so picking up those new features, should be easier. And we plan to have tutorials and videos and lots of resources for you for all these different things. Yeah, Rita?
Yeah, just a quick question. How many active people are there using Nature's Notebook at this time, if you had to strike a guess at it, unless you know exactly, but
Yeah, so the last couple of years it's been like I think 3,600 in a year active. There's a lot of people, like I think 30,000 people who have ever signed up, like individuals that are unique, which tells me like there's a lot of room for better retention. So I'm really hoping that, the people that signed up and then like never stuck with it, they probably got turned off by the complexity or not being engaged and that kind of thing. So that's why we're really excited about the new app and hopefully we'll increase that number quite a bit. But yeah, we do have a data dashboard. If you're curious, I can drop a link to that in the chat, where you can see it should be fairly up to date stats on like how many observations and how many people.
mhm. Yeah, I was just curious. It's still a lot. It's up in the
It is.
thumb. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I'm looking now. So far this year we have 1,033 observers who have submitted data this year. I think that'll probably jump up quite a bit as it warms up in the Northeast and the Midwest in the coming weeks.
Thanks,
All right.
Grace. Grace says, do take the time you need to make it work.
We're trying
We are
to
doing just that.
take the time. We do want it to be solid. We don't want it to be, problematic when we release it. So we're trying to be very careful and lots of testing. So we're really excited to get it into the hands of our beta testers in the coming weeks. So yeah, stay tuned for that. So we'll be sending a follow-up email with the recording, the link to the demo. I'll also look through the long chat too, and we can maybe add some more of the FAQs on that new app page, some of the common questions, and make sure that those are on there. But really appreciate all the support on this. And all of your understanding about how long this is taking and just trying to make sure it works well. So thank you so much. Hopefully we'll see you tomorrow in our last webinar.
Yep, thanks
Great.
all. Thanks for the great questions.
Bye, everybody.